Hey y'all, I am here to do an unboxing of a very special package that my husband was so kind and excited to pick up for me, as you can see. Ah, yay, love you, Charlie. This is a custom order that I made all the way back in February, and it's finally here. And now I'm ready to open up this long-awaited package, courtesy of Alan from Bowltech, who handmade these crochet hook handles and used Clover silver insert hooks for me. And so I was able to get like this nice little custom set. And so I'm going to be opening these up for you here. I'm so excited. I've only seen pictures so far of what the hooks are going to look like, but you know, pictures and seeing them in real life are a different thing. So I am going to open these, show you all the different hooks, the different woods and everything like that. And then I'm also going to talk to you about some plans with them. And then of course, what's a hook review without testing it out on some yarn. So what are we waiting for? Let's get into it. All right, I've got it all set up so we can be able to get my view whenever we open these up. So we've got ourselves some tape. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some scissors here and we will cut tape. I'm trying to make sure that I don't show like any of my personal info, like my address or anything like that, because, you know, don't want any potential stalkers, because, you know, I'm just that wildly popular. I always have to worry about things like that. Okay, so we'll open up like that. All right. Then it looks like one of them kind of poked through a bit. Okay, hopefully that didn't cause any kind of damage, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay, let's kind of shove that forward there. Okay, there we go. Pull that out. There we go. And then we can, oh, it's like wrapped with some nice paper there. Wow, these are secure. Okay, try opening up more of the package here. Ooh. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. That's a lot better. Okay, one more side here. Sorry, struggling a bit with the scissors, but here we go. There we go. Okay. Then, all right. Here they are. Okay. Ooh, I'm knocking a few things over on my shelf or my desk here. Okay. So if I kind of gently pick these up here. Okay. Looks like there's probably a packing slip. Yeah, it says thank you from Bowltech wood turning. So as you can see, they do have an Instagram and a Facebook. So if you are interested, they do design all kinds of hand carved hooks. So they can do the full size wood ones. They can do the mixed ones. They even had interchangeable ones. I got an interchangeable set a while back. I was able to gift them to a friend and they absolutely love them. So anyway, here we go. So we've got these. It looks like they are individually wrapped here. Oh, just look at those hook heads already. Just those nice hybrid Clover hook heads that I'm just used to. Oh, I love these so much. Okay, so I did order a total of 9 in the set. So they range from sizes 2mm all the way up to 6mm, and they work every ½ millimeter. So it's 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, so on. So there's none of the 1/4 millimeter sizes, which was a tad bit disappointing, I'm not going to lie, but you know what? That's what you get when you order from outside of an American company. And besides, I could probably use a 2mm, 2.5mm, which I don't actually already have. So this just kind of rounds out and fills out my set. So speaking of, okay, let's actually go ahead and start with these smaller ones, it looks like. So I'll go ahead and pull these over here. So I'll go ahead and open that up, just slowly unwrapping them. Oh my goodness. Oh, look at that. Oh my God. Oh, just, I'll set this one aside for now, but just look at that wood. That is shiny, polished wood. It's very nice, very lightweight. And that handle there at the end, I requested that I was like, okay, I really like this body style, but then I really wanted this kind of like almost wand looking tip here. And so he was able to do that on all of them. And so you can check here. Wow, that is uniform. You can definitely tell like these are hand carved. Like these are not just machine made. These are definitely hand carved by an actual human here. And then that insert, it looks like it is sealed in there with some sort of like glue or epoxy or something like that. And feel the hook head. Yeah, that is not budging. So that's already a really good sign. Okay, so definitely very securely made. And it looks like they are the same length and everything too. So definitely very uniform for being, you know, handmade, hand turned, everything. Oh, just so light and so, oh, so smooth. But you can definitely still feel that warmth of that wood there. So let's see what we've got here. It looks like we've got this was punched in. Yeah, it looks like that says 3. So I believe that this is the 3mm sized hook, which does look about right because my 3.25mm hook is about that size. Here, let me actually go and get one to check. All right, so I grabbed my Clover Amore hook, and this is the size D, 3.25mm. And so if I compare that here, it looks like they are roughly similar in diameter, with the 3.25 being maybe slightly bigger, which is good because that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be about 1/4 millimeter bigger, which to the naked human eye probably isn't a whole lot different, but yeah, that's really good. So that one's the 3mm, and then this one looks like it is the 2.5mm. So that one's going to be closer in size to my C hook, my 2.75, though a little bit smaller. So yeah, there's that. All right, okay, so there are those two hooks. So we've got my 2.5 and we have a 3mm. So I'll just kind of set those right there. And then let's see, it looks like, okay, so there's one that was wrapped individually because it looks like they were wrapped in pairs. And so this one's probably one of my smaller ones because it should also include the 2mm hook here. So let's go ahead and unwrap this one. Oh, wait, I was wrong. This is the opposite. This is like probably my hugest one. This is probably my 6mm. Oh, actually, no, it's not. It is. Oh, no, wait, yes, it is. That is a 6. At first, I thought maybe it said 5, but yeah, that says a little tough to see because of the lighting here. But yeah, that is a 6mm. Yeah, that is definitely the big one. And it looks like it is the same length as the smaller ones, give you the same real estate here. Not as much room at this part, but with my crochet style, I tend to push kind of way back here anyway. And with this being stopped there, that's enough room for me to be able to work the way that I do. With these smaller ones, I was worried because I know they have that slight taper there when they get a bit wider, but there's definitely a lot of room here for me to be able to work when I work my tinier stitches. So looks like we've got my 6mm unwrapped here. All right, so let's open up this next pair. I can see that this one looks really small, and then we've got this kind of bigger one. So it looks like they were just kind of randomly paired, however. So there's probably not really a size reasoning to it, but we've got now, it looks like, yes, this is, oh yeah, that's a tiny one. Oh no, it looks like it was slightly bent whenever it was worked or shipped. Okay, I can just kind of push that. Okay, yeah. Okay, it's pliable enough that I can definitely bend that back into place. I mean, I just need to be really careful. I think just like I am with like my B hook, my 2.25mm, I'm very careful not to put too much stress on it. Otherwise I am worried about it bending. Yeah, we can see 2 and the 2.5, very close. This one's obviously smaller since it's actually just a 2mm. And making sure I can confirm. Yeah, it's punched in there. It's a 2. Oh, that is so lovely. And it looks like it goes quite well with these other ones. So they're all very light woods, as you can see here. And I'm going to be talking about these woods here in a moment once I open up all of them. But I'm so glad that they're slightly different, but you can definitely tell they're all a set made of just different types of light woods here. So now if I open up this one here, ooh, this one's like the lightest one it looks like so far. It's almost like a white wood here. Almost kind of like, if you're a J.R.R. Tolkien fan or like Lord of the Rings fan, you can think of like the White Tree of Gondor and things like that, you know, or the White Seeds from Lorien. But this is my 4.5mm hook, so that's my US 7. G plus if you're a furls person and you've gotten one of their hooks before. The size 7 is the 4.5, so that's going to go right here in the middle here. And let me open up the next ones. Okay, so we got another light one and then one of my darker versions of the light ones. So it looks like, oh, ooh, I really like that. See, one of the things I really love about wood products in general is because of the natural grain and that they're organic living beings that we, you know, resource. They have all kinds of like random things that happen, including some things that might be considered like imperfections. But to me, they make it unique and beautiful, just like, you know, with people. So like here, we've got like this kind of like, it's harder to tell in this light, but yeah, it kind of is like this dark burnished kind of look and then really light over here. And then we've got these kind of random like grain striations through here. And then this one, we've got lots of grain, like lots of beautiful dark grain through here. And then those spots. Oh, and it's still really, really smooth. Like you can definitely tell it's still wood, but like it's definitely polished and cleaned up here. So let's see, that is my 3.5mm. So that's going to go after my 3mm here. Get that here. And then this one looks like it is my 4mm. Yep, 4mm. So that's going to be next to my 4.5. And then we've got my 6 right here. So we got some ones still in between. It looks like we got 2 more. So get that paper out of the way there. I'm going to open up these last ones. Very carefully. Okay, so we got another kind of lighter and a darker one. Ooh, this one actually I think might be my darkest one. So that's really cool. Okay, so we've got this light wood one. Ooh, more of those kind of like bits of square almost. It's like really, okay. These aren't necessarily like grains that are solid. These are definitely kind of the dashed looking ones. Kind of like what you might see in an oak or something like that, which may very well be that this is an oak hook. So yeah, this one is my 5.5. So my USI or 9 hook. So yeah, nice and thick. And that will go next to the 6mm one here. Yeah. Yeah. Almost looks like it's the bigger one of the two. I'll have to get like a gauge ruler just to make sure, because I'll talk to you about some plans that I have for these where this probably won't even really matter. But I'm going to go ahead and put those there anyway. And then we've got this right here. Really dark one. This one. Oh, that's because I was mistaken. That's because I was wrong. This actually is a 5. That is not a 6. Okay, so that's why this is smaller. Okay, so this one is actually smaller, so it's not a mistake. Okay, whew, that's really good. So there's a 5 and a 5.5. Got those switched around there. And then we've got my 6mm one right here. Make sure, yeah, that's more of a 6 than the other one looked like. So, and that looks like it's the thickest one out of all of these, and it's the darkest one out of all of these. So that's really, really nice. Oh, that's so pretty and so smooth. I know I keep saying a lot of the same words over and over, but there's really just not any other way to describe these other than they're just beautiful, stunning, smooth, lightweight, perfect in every single way, even with like their imperfections and things like that. So looks like we've got all 9 here. So we've got my 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, and 6. So all 9. Oh my God. And they look even better in person than they did in the photograph. And they feel so good. I'm so excited about these. So one thing to talk about is the types of woods that I ordered. So I specifically chose woods that were native to England, where Alan lives. And for one reason, because they're a little bit more affordable for him to make, but also because I was like, you know what? I would love to have a set that was made from the land that I am ordering them from. So I'm not sure which wood is necessarily which, but I do know that it includes a pear, oak, ash, elm, sycamore, maple, cherry, beech, and walnut. All of these are woods that are grown in England. I think, except actually there was one that wasn't grown directly in England, but it was still like, there were 8 of them, and the 9th one, I was just like, you know what? It looks enough like the other woods that it's fine. But these are not obviously the only woods. He actually has a huge list of other wood options, like exotic ones, like from different parts of the world, like from Africa, from the Asian continent, from South America, every place like that. And he is very fast at being able to take custom orders and get them ready and shipped out to you. These took him only 4 weeks to be able to do. And I was just like floored. I expected it to take way longer. Oh my gosh. Like, I was so excited to be able to get these hooks, and I was so glad I did not have to wait very long. And these are definitely going to be the nicest sets of custom hooks that I have ever had made. So now it's time to stop talking about the hooks and actually see them in action. So what I'm going to do is I've grabbed 3 different yarns. I have a worsted acrylic yarn that I've got here. And then I have a sport weight cotton modal blend. And then I've got a fingering weight singles superwash merino. And so I'm going to be testing out not just different sizes, but also different fibers. So one thing I'm going to do is go ahead and grab my, let's go with the 6mm hook here. And I'm going to go ahead and set these other ones aside. So we got our trusty little 6mm, and I'm going to grab my acrylic worsted weight yarn. So this is just some I Love This yarn from Hobby Lobby that I just had in my stash. And, you know, I haven't really done anything with it in a while. I used it, I think, to make a friend a blanket a long time ago, and I just had a bunch extra. So here we go. So I've placed a slip knot on here, and we're just going to start with a few chains. Oh, that is really lovely. Like, literally the way my hand is holding the hook, it just feels like a really natural fit. Like, I'm not having to squeeze, and it's light, so I'm just gently holding it in my hand. And that made like a really nice chain there. So let's just do some single crochets here. So in second chain from hook, I'll go ahead and single. Oh wow. Like, I really wish you could hold and feel this through the screen, because it is incredible. Like, one of the best hooks I think I've ever had the pleasure of being able to work with. And I've worked with a lot of different hooks. And the thing is, like, there's only been a few hooks that I've just absolutely hated. It was like, oh no, God, I could never use this. But for the most part, I can usually find something good about any hook that I use. And not all hooks are good for every single project. So I will switch hooks depending on what I'm going for, or the aesthetic I'm looking for, or even just like, you know, how I'm feeling that day. So if I'm feeling like I want to be like a peasant sitting in their like cozy little cottage or something like that, and I want my nice trusty wood hook to be able to use, then I'll reach over and grab that one. If I want to feel like, you know, I need some speed and I need some comfort, I want it to be bright and modern and everything like that, I'll reach for, you know, a different set of hooks, and they'll be like, you know, a bright colorful set or something like that. But I could definitely see this hook, at least so far, with the acrylic and the worsted, this would be a great go-to. In fact, like, I typically actually don't gravitate towards a lot of worsted projects. It's just, I prefer the smaller yarns just because of the type of designs that I do. I do a lot of clothing, and crochet can be a bit heavy. So the heavy worsteds are very something that I try to avoid. But I don't know, I might need to break into a few worsted projects just so I can use this 6mm hook with some of this worsted acrylic yarn. And not to say that this is bad acrylic. It's definitely not. It's definitely more like one of the, that's why I got it, is because it's a bit softer. But it's not the fancy premium acrylic, but it is running through these stitches super smoothly. And the hook is just feeling and looking great as I'm doing it. So it's hard to kind of show you because of how I hold my hook. But here, let me try a pencil hold. I'm definitely not as fast with pencil hold. We can see how the hook looks as it's working. Oh, that is pretty. That is just a pretty experience. Okay, so there we have it. So we've got single crochets with the 6mm hook made of whatever this wood is. It's pretty, whatever it is. So now let's go ahead and try maybe some half double crochets here. Okay, so now that I'm involving some yarn overs, I'm having to adjust a bit how I do that. So singles I hold a bit differently than I do with like half doubles or doubles. So I'm definitely not as fast with the half doubles, but that's okay. I don't try to really be a super speedy crocheter anyway. So even if I'm not going super fast, that's okay. Yeah. And like I said earlier, my worry slightly about like, maybe this not being enough space for me to be able to work my stitches, even with the yarn over and doing a half double crochet, there's plenty of room for me to be able to scoot the stitches back onto the hook so that the loops are all about that same size. Now I do wonder if I did something like a cluster stitch, if that would work the same. So I might do this on this next one just real quick. I'll just chain 2 and do like a double crochet here just to get it started. Oh yeah, double crochet feels nice. Okay, so now let's just try a cluster here. So we'll do insert, pull through 2, insert, pull through 2, insert, pull through 2. Let's do a 5 DC cluster. Here we go. Okay. Okay, it's getting a little crowded, but as you can see, they're just right next to each other. And as long as I make sure I keep my tension even across, even if it's coming down here on the throat, I'm not choking my hook by narrowing this down. I'm still keeping them relatively the same. And then when I do my final yarn over and pull, we got ourselves a nice little cluster. Okay, so I think that's plenty of time on the acrylic and the worsted. I'm ready to get excited about the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to the sport weight. So for my sport weight cotton, I've decided to grab the 4mm hook here. And this is the cotton modal. This is Shine Sport by We Crochet. It actually happens to be the same yarn that I used. I just had some left over from when I made the Sunday tank. Shameless product plug there. It is currently in the March 2023 issue of Crochet Foundry magazine. So if you have not gotten that already, feel free to get that. At the time of filming, the individual pattern is not available, but it will be eventually. So if you want the individual pattern too, you can always get that if it is already out. But in the meantime, I'm going ahead and just doing a few chains just like I did with the acrylic. And this time with the 4mm. Oh, it feels the same. Because the length of the handle is the same as it was with the 6mm, even though the hook bit is the same size or same length, you're getting a lot more space here since it is a smaller hook, and so the throat doesn't come in down here, it comes in a little higher. So it's pretty easy for me to be able to get those chains worked. Oh, that is really nice. So it feels just as good working with this. Okay. Now the thing is that with this yarn, it can be a tad bit on the splitty side because of how loose the ply is. So let's see how this hook handles that. If I do like single crochets here. Okay. It's doing actually pretty well. Not getting any real splitting here. So let's try working half double crochets into the foundation chain. Okay. Oh yeah, that is good. Is going into the stitch. The yarn overs are coming through really nicely. It's not snagging anything. And I know a lot of that has to do with the fact that Clover hook heads themselves are just really nice and I'm used to working with them. And they're that like hybrid style, so it's a mix of like the inline and the tapered. I typically would gravitate towards tapered. That's what I learned on. And inline hooks, I've tried them. They're harder for me. I don't not work with them because some of my hooks, especially the wood ones, the easiest way to make them is with an inline style. So I've just gotten used to it. But if I don't have to really make a whole lot of adjustment, then I'm very happy. And so with Clovers, I don't really have to do that. So here we go. So those half double crochets were really nice. So let me try a little bit more of the actual double crochets. I didn't get to do a whole lot of those on the previous swatch. Let's just try some of those here. Okay. So just like with the previous one. I have to slow down a bit for the double crochets, but I think that just happens to me anyway. Double crochets are not a super fast stitch for me, as fast as single crochets are. But yeah, it's still feeling really lightweight, easy to maneuver. It looks great as I'm working with. I'll kind of like even turn this way. So you're not really seeing me crochet necessarily, but you can see the tip of the handle. It just looks very elegant. Like I'm a fancy person on like Downton Abbey or something like that, just working my crochet with my handmade, hand-turned English hooks. Oh yeah, that's really nice. Okay, so now let's try some treble crochets. Get some real extra yarn overs there. Okay. Now, because of where I have to place my fingers, so I'm not a person who can like sit way back here and be able to do yarn overs and do all that, because then they start to bunch on me. So I do have to use my finger. So I have to reach to be able to grab that. But with the length of the handle being the same as what it was for the 6mm one, I'm not having to really adjust where my hand is holding it. I may have to extend my finger a little bit more just because there's a little bit more length that the stitch loops can go onto on the hook. But it still feels really comfortable. So it still feels very ergonomic, very good on my hands. Yeah, it's really nice. Okay, very nice. Okay, so that seemed to work just as well as the 6mm with acrylic and worsted. So definitely passed the test with this cotton and with the 4mm hook. And now for the one I am really excited to try. So I design things with a lot of fingering weight yarns, particularly very thin, light fingering weight yarns. So this is the one that I'm going to have to make sure really passes that test. So I've got my handy dandy little 2mm one here. So I oftentimes will use 2mm on fingering weight yarn to create my ribbing because it's a little bit smaller and tighter and a lot more polished. So let me go ahead and try some ribbing here. So let me just do some regular single crochet ribbing. So I've got that. And remember that this was the one that was bent when it first came in, and I've kind of straightened it out a bit more, so that might impact how it crochets, but we'll go ahead and see. So I'm holding it really, really small. Okay. Get my bearings here again. So the Clover tips, when they get into these smaller sizes, so like the 2mm, 1.5mm, 1mm, whatever, they move from doing like the aluminum, they start doing steel hooks. So I'm assuming that that's what this one is, because it's a little bit more of a shiny coat than the brushed aluminum of the bigger sizes, but it is doing pretty well. So really this 2mm is probably a little too small even for this thin yarn. This would probably be better for something like a heavy lace weight, like an 800 meter or 800 yard per 100 grams. And this one's a 400 yard per 100 grams. But even still, it's not doing too shabby here with making the chain. So now let's try doing a single crochet rib. So we'll go in, pull up a loop, single crochet. Well, the first row isn't really a rib, it's just basically working single crochets into the chain. So seems to be doing okay though. Yeah, it's not really snagging or anything like that, so that's good. I know sometimes with merino or like any kind of like more halo-y or fuzzier yarn, especially if it's a singles like this one where it's not plied, it can get a little bit caught in the hook. But this one actually doing very nicely. Still really smooth. Lots of room on that hook. So even though there's that slight taper back here that widens it for where it joins, it's got lots of room here where you've got just that 2mm diameter. So far doing pretty well. I think I made my chain a little too long for this, so I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead. Go ahead. Oh my God. So I'm going to go ahead and turn and chain and then start working in the back loop only to create a rib. Okay, that one was a little bit of a struggle. Yeah, that one wasn't too bad. Right? Yeah, I think the 2mm might be just a tad too small for this yarn. So like the throat, as you can see, is not super deep because it's not meant to grab really thick yarn or anything. It's just meant to just grab lightly a very thin yarn. So I'm definitely probably giving this more work than it's meant to handle. But even with that, it's not doing too bad. Okay. Yeah. So here's what I'm actually going to do. I'm going to go ahead and switch. Instead of the 2mm, I'm going to switch over to my 2.5mm. So that's actually going to be better because when I use my 2.25mm for my ribbing, my size B hook, that does do really well with this yarn. So this one should theoretically do just as well. So here we go. Okay. Pretty smooth. I will say it definitely doesn't feel as smooth as when I was working with the cotton or the acrylic with the bigger hooks. But I think that might just be the nature of like my merino wall yarn here. Since it is a singles, it is not going to be, it's going to like, make some noise. It's going to have a little bit more resistance, a little bit more grip than the cotton modal, which is like very silky feeling. And then acrylic, just that acrylic kind of naturally has a slickness to it. Okay. So I think maybe I'm kind of feeling like there might be some bit of like residue on here because it's kind of a little bit more sticky right here, so that might be causing it. I may have to go ahead and like, dip them in some gentle soap and water or something like that. Just the tips. I don't want to do that on the wood. I just want to do the tips there where I can get them clean, give them a real test there. So, but for now, even with all of that, I'm going to do some half double crochet ribbing, even with those things kind of quote unquote getting in the way, these hooks are actually doing pretty well with stitching. My hand is still hitting the same spots and my finger is able to reach in the same spot. So it's definitely a very uniform set, so I don't have to adjust my hand too much for the bigger sizes or the smaller sizes. It'll work about the same for all of them. The wood feels really nice in all of them. It's all very smooth, very polished, and I can actually see that I'm a lot better now that I'm getting a little more used to this. And they just look really good as I'm working, and they make me really happy. So at the end of the day, isn't that really what a crochet hook is supposed to do, is make you really enjoy your craft? It just levels it up even more so than you were already feeling about your love for crochet anyway. So yeah, all right then. So I'm really enjoying that. So I would say definitely passes the test. I would say maybe passes the test, like meets expectations rather than like exceeds expectations. I would definitely say that the bigger hooks here, like the 4mm, and definitely I think the 6mm, because I was not expecting the 6mm to hold up as well as it did here. I think they definitely passed with exceeds expectations. So yes, but overall, still very good hook set. I'm so excited. And now one thing I want to talk to you about is what my plans are for these hooks. All right, so as you can see, these hooks are obviously very beautiful on their own. They are just very gorgeously made, very uniform, everything like that. However, for me, I really enjoy a little bit of fancy when it comes to some of my things. So while these are very nice, one of the reasons I actually chose this style of hook and why I wanted the wood is because one of my plans is I want to have a professional wood burner or like wood carver or somebody like that go through each of these hooks and literally carve a beautiful vine style pattern into each of my hooks so that they all almost look like little like elf hooks. So when I mentioned like, the Lord of the Rings thing earlier, that was deliberate. Like I wanted it to look like, if Galadriel were to have a set of crochet hooks, then she would definitely have ones that weren't just plain. They would have like the vine carvings in them. Bowltech does not do anything like that. And I would not ask him to do anything like that. He's obviously done plenty of work getting this done. So that's going to go on to another skilled artisan that I just need to find. And I can, try to keep you updated if I do get that to happen. But as of now, I don't have one in mind. It's just kind of the plans. The one thing that kind of gave me a bit of inspiration is I do have my crochet design book here. And this is like my favorite design book. It's where I came up with things like the wind sweater collection, which obviously you can still get the set here. And I wanted to make sure that it was done in a beautiful book, like I said. And I just really enjoyed the way that these kind of vines and things looked, and I thought that would look really amazing carved into these hooks. And then on top of that, rather than just sticking with just this punched in one, they could maybe carve in like a nice, beautiful, larger one that I can see. It's a little bit clearer of the size in here. So those are my plans going into the future. I can keep you up with that on my Instagram. So if you're not following already, you can feel free to follow me. I am available at Cocky Crocheter. There is an underscore underneath it. And then you can also, check out my patterns and everything like that on the Cocky Crocheter website, cockycrocheter.com. And if you liked this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to, I also do video tutorials and other types of unboxings. You can feel free to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you can keep up with all of my latest pattern tutorials and unboxings. In the meantime, I thank you so much for joining me today. I am now going to go and start working with my new hooks on some project that I'm sure I will figure out. In the meantime, have a fantastic day.